This is the Ink Pulp Podcast.
Welcome to the Ink Pulp Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Crystal, and today we're going to add our local color to the Batman painting. I want to know how your paintings are going. Please leave a comment below. Let me know how this is going for you if you're doing this along with me, which is kind of the idea. So when it comes to local color is like this is a pink shirt, okay? But if I stand under a blue light, this color is going to change. If I stand under an orange light, this color is going to change, or how we perceive the color. So the local color is just under white light, what color is it? And if we approach a painting with just local color, then we have no harmony. And so everything I've done with this underwash and building the values is to create a harmony. So whatever I put on top of it is affected by this orange light and blue cool shadow area. So what I'm going to use today are some acrylic inks, because you can really thin them down and the pigment is really, really strong, and they're great for like glazing areas. So the first one I'm going to use is this Holbein acrylic quinacridone gold, and I'm going to use this for the flesh. I find this to be a great flesh color. I know it looks very brown, but when you lay it down it's very, very yellow, unless you build and then you can get to that brown. The next one I'm going to do is another acrylic ink by Holbein, and this one's ultramarine, a warmish blue for the cowl. And then for the background I have another brand, Golden acrylic. This is their what do they call this? I forget what they call this type of acrylic. Fluid acrylic maybe. But this is their magenta, which I really like, and that's going to be my background. So it's really just 3 colors. So let's pull out in our palette here, and all I'm going to do is add about 3 drops. I want the pigment, the wash I'm going to do to be fairly strong. So I don't want to water this down too much, but I don't want these to be too strong either. I don't want to lose their transparent quality. Okay, and then blue, ultramarine. That ultramarine nasty. Alright, so here we go. Oh wait, one more thing. Yeah, we need to make a wash of these. We don't want to use these pure. So I'm going to do about half the little tray full. There we go. That should be good. And the thing is, I'm not worried about things getting too dark. I just want them to stay transparent, because the final stage is going to be me using opaque media to go on top of it. So that's where the light comes in. So right now, when I'm done with this, I want to have like mid to dark values. I don't want much light. And I'm just going to leave the eyes alone, just because they're going to be opaque anyway. And nothing I do is going to matter there. And there's no point, it's just going to be covered up, so there's no point in just leaving it alone. So let me get the skin going first. And you got to be aware, the one thing you do have to do is keep awareness on where your wet areas are. So by doing the skin first, that means I'm going to probably do the background next. So while the skin dries, I'm working on the background. Then when I hit the cowl, not that I'm going to go into the skin area, but I don't want any wet areas to bleed into each other. So you see what's happening here is this gold is now looking like skin tone under this blue and orange color scheme that I'm using. And I like to lay down a few layers. There we go. So that looks pretty good. All right, and you gotta make sure you mix up your inks with the water that you added so that you're good to go there. All right, so I'm gonna use kind of a good bit here. Now the idea here is this magenta is really such a beautiful color, and it's when it mixes with the orange, which is warm, it's gonna stay pretty pigmented bright. But look what happens when I get over into the blue. It's starting to become this purple, which is perfect for what I want, because that greenish acidic yellow reflective light will work really well with the purple. So you see, look at that. That magenta really lit up that orange area beautifully. So I'm laying down quite a bit of water now, which is okay, because I want a rich pigmented experience. So see what we've got here? The colors are changing, but they're not fighting. So that yellow isn't really fighting with much, and I've given a lot of strength to that that magenta simply because there was orange underneath it, and then over here the blue that was underneath it makes this beautiful purple. It's just I love that color combination that we have going on. Now this is all pretty wet, so I'm gonna have to be careful. Normally I let it dry, but for the sake of the podcast, I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna take a risk. Alright, so I've got this ultramarine blue that we're gonna glaze over everything except the reflective light. That area I have something else in store for, which we'll probably do on the next episode. I don't know if this dries fast enough. We'll see. But right now I just really want to get this cowl covered beautifully. And you'll notice what's happening to the cowl as I get into this orange area. The blue and the orange are complemented, so it's going to really dull down that blue. And I do work over the shadows a bit with it. It's fine. You're not going to see much there, but my hope is if it adds anything, it just helps things harmonize a little more. So what we should be left with on this side is this blue that feels like it's being lit up by the sun, maybe, or a yellow light, if you will. And don't worry too much, because like I said, we're going to go over with opaque media and really pull out the what's it called, the light. So don't worry about it too much. Let this thing do its magic. Make sure you do paint over the rendering though. There. Okay. So we're going to leave that for a second now. I can see some of the blue leaking in to that area. So if this happens, you can really just dry out your brush and flatten it, and you can lift a little bit. I don't want to lift too much. Just kind of dry out the area and just keep an eye on it, and as it creeps back out, you can lift it back up again. Okay. There we go. That seems to be working. Alright, so while we're here, I guess we'll let that dry for a second while I get out. I'm looking for this guy. Bamboo green. And I'm going to use this for the reflective light. And I have found in previous paintings this color, which is a really cool green, really lends itself to lighting up on top of it with that leaf green, yellow green, which is warm. It gives a lot of strength to it. It's like almost like the contrast of the cool and the warm work really well together. So I've got this here. I'm going to add water to it. Okay. Let me just keep an eye on that one spot. It looks okay. I'm just going to dry my brush off a little bit and pick a little final bit up. Okay. So now on this side, it should be dry enough that it should be okay. So I'm going to mix up the this green. And we are going to go back over the pencil later. So any area where it's kind of bleeding a little bit, I can just thicken the line a touch to cover that up. So now the tricky part is this green right here, getting it to show up and not going into your dark area too much. So but when I'm done, this is not going to look like terribly great. and that's okay. That's just because we've darkened everything up and we're losing a lot of the volume. But what we're doing is we're adding volume into the shadow zones, and then when we come in with the opaque media, we'll be adding volume to the light zones, and the colors will really start to harmonize at that point. So don't judge your painting too early. Alright, so you can see that green. So it's really colorful, tutti frutti looking right now, but they're harmonizing. I mean, that's just how I work. The way I like to use colors, I like to use colors that pop. A lot of my paintings, when they're done, they look like they need a black light, which I enjoy about my work. It's just the way I like to use color. I like to celebrate color. So, all right, we're going to let that dry, and then we will come back on the next episode, and we will add our opaque media, and then we'll touch up some pencil work. We'll be done, so we're getting close. I hope your results are going well. And if you're liking this and you want to see or learn a more in-depth explanation and much... These techniques I'm doing are kind of quick and simple. It's a tiny little painting. But on the bigger paintings, there's a lot more subtlety you can create, a lot more techniques I use. So if you like this, go to INKPULPinstruction.com. Link is right down there. And get yourself my painting episode. Give it a try. And if you like that, I have the classroom area, my virtual classroom. It's part of the subscription, which is on INKPULPinstruction.com. And the subscription comes with every single episode I've recorded of my lessons, not the guest episodes, but my lessons and the virtual classroom. And I'm releasing a minimum of 1 episode a month of me, and guest episodes will come out on top of that as well. Some months there'll be 2 episodes of me. So the library will continually grow as you are a subscriber. So I hope to see you over there. And at the very least, sign up for my newsletter so you can keep up with all the stuff I have going on. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know below. Peace.
Comics, hip hop, life.